those aren't your notes. They're out of order control.
Yeah, actually, I got them on my iPad.
It's American.
We got them on my iPad.
Yes. Okay, folks, good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming out here today. We're out here today, obviously, you know, it's funny because we as elected officials are always frustrated by high water bills. Right? Everybody knows that water bills are high, that the amount they've been increased over the last few years has significantly increased the rate of inflation. But we're here today on really something that's unique, which is outrageous water bills. In some cases, as a result of the new automated meter readers, I believe we call them the AMRs, which started to be installed in March of 2009. The city decided they're going to turn residential and commercial water customers over to these meters, and they're installing around 800,000 of them at a cost of $250 million. When the city started this, the city said, don't worry, this is going to ensure that we're going to have accurate water meter readings. Unfortunately, what we've seen is anything but. In fact, in my particular offices, and I have many colleagues who are here today, of course, we have our chairman of the Land Use Committee, Councilmember Leroy Comrie. We have Councilmember Dan Halloran. We've got Councilmember Mark Ruffin, Subcommittee Chair, and we have Councilmember Ruben Wills, who are joining us along with Mordecai Lev, who's one of my constituents, who was really kind to take off the middle of his day to come out here. What we're going to tell you is that in many of these situations, we believe that these automated meter readers are broken, and that in fact that they're overcharging. We'll give you some examples. I have some constituents who have gotten bills that are 3 to 4 times higher. We had a case of an individual who was charged for a month when they were completely out of town, and the bill was 4 times higher. We had people who were literally, all their children had left their homes, their bill is 3 to 4 times higher. We have folks who are going away on vacation, their bill is 3 to 4 times higher. So you talk to DEP, DEP says we're going to investigate. You send someone out there, they take a look, they check for leaks. They say, well, sorry, we looked and there's no leaks. Well, the answer is that there may not be leaks, but there could be broken meters. And the broken meter situation is not something that's unique to New York City. In fact, we've done research. Audits in Atlanta revealed that in at least 1% of their readers have had unusually high readings, the automated meter readers, when they converted over. In Charlotte, the malfunctioning automated meter readers could have cost over billing charges for 68,000 customers. Remember again, when the DEP commissioner came to us a few years ago, he said that these meters are going to make it more accurate. We spent $250 million, and we have situations, literally, we're getting them by the dozens, where constituents are coming to us and they are showing us their bills, and we are actually seeing their bills, which are shocking, that the numbers are through the roof. And in fact, I want to first start off with Mr. Lev, because I know he has to get back to work. I wanted to show us, he's a constituent of mine, Mordecai Lev, and he has a couple of those. Why don't you tell us your experience and what happened to you?
Good afternoon.
Can you come closer to the mic?
I'm not used to the mic, guys, so the situation that I'm in right now is about a quarter after the AMR was installed, my bill was a little bit higher. Ever since it's climbing, meaning the quarter thereafter it was double, the quarter after that it was double than the first bill plus the addition. Right now I'm almost 4 times as high as that bill. I requested that they come check the meter reading. I was held over 5 months because Honeywell's contract was up for renewal. They weren't renewed. By the time they came down, that was 5 months later, I was told I have no leaks. My bill, actually, which I received 2 weeks ago right now, is more in line with the first bill. So I don't know what to make of it. The letters that I sent disputing, I was written back 2 nice letters, but not dealing with the issue at hand. And they say don't fight City Hall, you can't fight City Hall. Maybe this is an issue where David can fight Goliath and make sure that this gets solved.
Mr. Lev's bills before the AMR, just so you know, range from around $200 to $500. Right after the AMR, his bill ranged from $1,100 to $1,500. Literally, his bill tripled. We reached out to DEP. DEP said there must be a leak. They came down, they investigated, there was no leak, and the bills are still through the roof. This is just one example. We have dozens of these cases. Obviously, we're in the middle of a work day. People can't take off in the middle of the day because they have to work to pay these outrageous DEP water bills that have gone through the roof. And once again, I want to be clear. we always complain about water bills that are high. These are not usual water bills. These are the result of the city investing $250 million of taxpayer money because they claim we would have more accurate readings, and we are certain that in many cases they're not accurate. So we're calling for DEP to launch an investigation to get to the bottom of this, to audit these water meter bills, and to audit these automated water meter readers, and to let us know, and to come back to us and to give us a conclusion. We believe that they will find that in thousands of cases, these automated meter readers are broken. Remember, when we get several dozen constituents, it means that literally there are hundreds of people out there who don't know what to do. And someone asked me before, what should you do? The answer is, reach out to your elected official. One such elected official who's a leader in the New York City Council, and I'd like to ask him to speak, is our chairman of the Land Use Committee, Councilman Leroy Comrie.
Thank you, David. I want to applaud you for bringing this bill forward today. This is an issue that has been long-standing for many homeowners that have been suffering and frustration. And hopefully this will codify procedures to ensure that the Department of Environmental Protection will not just come out and do a cursory check for water leaks, but actually come and look at the meter and test the meter and recalibrate the meter. Clearly there have been problems with these meters for many years. We have a lot of homeowners that would rather just pay than fight the system, but we want to make sure that there's a real opportunity to have a standard to make sure that our homeowners are protected so they're not flushing money down the drain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, we literally had a constituent the other day, came into our office practically in tears, $3,000 water bill last year, over $10,000 this year. Folks, we're in a recession, times are tough. We can't afford that because of the city's new technology where they spend $250 million, that in return our constituents are getting higher bills. I'd like to ask the subcommittee chair, Councilmember Mark Weprin from Queens, to talk to us about his experience as well.
Thank you, David. Obviously, this is a huge issue for us in Queens County and throughout the city. We had an enormous amount of complaints from people who had the automated meters put in, but everyone who came to us, their rates went up. We kept getting complaints from people who said they had nothing changed in their lives, they used the exact same amount of water over the years, and somehow the new meters were charging them double and sometimes triple, as Councilmember Greenfield said. So I asked the DEP, why is this happening? And they said that maybe, like all of us when we get older, we slow down a little bit, the meters weren't necessarily accurately working anymore. So then I said to them, well, in that case, you're getting a windfall because all of a sudden your accurate meters are charging more money, so you're making more money, so water rate costs should go down. But they didn't agree with that. And this all comes down to the water board and them not having any accountability. We need to create accountability in the water board because they use it as a backdoor property tax. This is how they raise our rates. And it comes up double-digit year after year. Last year they did us a great favor, and they announced to us, and I remember Councilman Halloran being in a meeting with me, where they said, oh, it's only be 7 or 8% this year. Wow, that's great. 1 year. These are breaking people's backs. This is individual homeowners, in many cases, who can't afford these huge increases. So something's wrong here. The amount of money that the city is spending is not consistent with the amount of money that they're bringing in. They're bringing in extra money. They need to work this out where the consumers are treated fairly, that these meters are accurate, and if they are getting more money because they are more accurate, then we should have the rates going down, not going up 10, 12% some years. There's something outrageously wrong with that. So we need to have answers to these questions. We need to know what the real cause is of these increased water rates, and we need to protect those consumers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate it. Thank you, Councilmember Weprin. And now we'd like to ask Councilmember Ruben Wills from Queens to talk about his experience that he's been having with his constituents regarding these faulty water meter readers.
Thank you, Councilman. I just want to thank Councilman Greenfield for his leadership on this. My district, just like Comrie's and everyone else's districts, is about 75% 1- and 2-family homes. I've been getting complaints since these meters were actually put in. But we enjoy down at the council a competitive thing where we want to see who can bring the best back to their districts. We do not enjoy when I have to stand here and tell Councilman Greenfield that his estimates are a lot lower than mine. We had a senior citizen that got a water bill of $22,000. Now that is ridiculous by all accounts. DEP did step in and try to help, but the water bill was only reduced to $2,700. So now we have people who have to use all of their savings to try to pay a water bill, or their water bills will be shut off. And we just passed landmark legislation recently dealing with the water lien sales to protect these same segments, and now we're creating another way for these people to be back on the water lien sales. This is ridiculous. We're demanding a full audit. We don't just want a pass-through. We want a full audit of every meter that has been installed, and we want the results released to the City Council now, not later on after budget. We want the results released now to the City Council so that we can go and effect change and help our constituents. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilmember Wills. And of course, this is a bipartisan issue. I want to thank and invite Councilmember Dan Halloran, Republican of Queens, to talk to us about his experiences in his district.
Thank you. Councilman Greenfield is bringing out something that Councilmember Weprin and I were talking about last year and a bit the year before. The Water Board is completely independent of our oversight. We have no way to really check and balance them. So we have no way to compel them to do the things that every other city agency does. They come and testify before us. We ask them for materials. We demand certain disclosures. Well, we can't do that with the Water Board because it's a creature created by statute in the state government that the city has absolutely no control except for our mayor of. So when we say that there's a problem with the water meters, literally it falls on deaf ears, and that's the problem. In our districts, in Queens in particular, these 1- and 2-family homeowners that we're speaking of saw those rates jump immediately after the installation of these meters. Now, Councilman Greenfield cited some statistics about some margins of error, 1% and 2% in some other states. They have not had the system-wide implementation, the large-scale change that we have had in New York City. So since we're producing about 4 times the number of meters in those other jurisdictions, you can estimate that we're up 4 and 5%, 4 and 5 times those numbers of errors. And when you're talking about the large water volume that we do in New York City, you can imagine how quickly those bills will add up. And as Councilmember Weprin so correctly pointed out, this is a backdoor tax method. The city has used the general fund to be able to get some of these revenues, almost 1/3 of the revenue, into its main coffers. That's not what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be a use fee. It's supposed to be tied to the actual water and sewer usage of the individual homeowners, going from $22,000 to $2,700, 10 times the number. Isn't a simple glitch, although we hear a lot about those in the Department of Finance and the Department of Environmental Protection. This is not a glitch, it's a systemic problem. And if our contractor didn't have the foresight to be able to give us a plug-in to check these individual meters against the reality, well then shame on the RFP that was created that allowed them to do this. Because we should be able to send a unit down, plug into that machine, and determine if it's working or not. Clearly they're not working, and I thank very much my colleagues for being here, but very much thank Councilmember Greenfield, who's brought this out to everyone's attention this year, and is joining us, I'm sure, in the fight overall to reform the Water Board, which is really the big picture issue.
Thank you. I just want to make one final point. What we're seeing over here is very odd, right? We're actually seeing bills that go up for a year or 2 at a time, then the bills go back down inexplicably. We're seeing bills that are 3 to 10 times larger in some cases. But, you know, Mark Weprin pointed out to me right before, we've never even heard of a bill that's gone down, right? So all we're seeing here is bills are going up, the numbers are astronomical. When you're talking about a bill going up 3, 4, 500% in 1 year, that's an incredible tax. We're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for the DEP to acknowledge that there is a problem here. We want them to investigate the problem. We want them to audit the meters. We want them to come back to us, give us that conclusion. We are convinced, based on the facts that we have, that there are literally thousands of customers in New York City who are getting overbilled by these brand new automated meter readers. There was a promise that was made to our city. We'll spend $250 million and we'll have accurate water meters. It's the opposite. We spend $250 million and we have higher bills for the same amount of water usage. It's really not fair, and in these times, people can't afford to pay these outrageous prices. And so with that, we'll take any questions that you have, and I want to thank you all for coming. And I want to especially thank Mr. Lev, who came out all the way from Brooklyn today, just to put a face on what's really a very troubling issue here in New York City. And I want to encourage people, if you have this issue yourself, contact your local council member. If you're not sure who that is, call 311. It's important that we log this and we get as much information as possible, because we believe, literally, like I say in my office, for every 1 person who calls, there's 10 people out there who don't know who to call. And so there have to be thousands of these cases out there where people are suffering from an explosion in incredibly high water bills that are simply unfair. Any questions?
How do you know that some of the increases aren't due to increased accuracy, that they weren't being underbilled beforehand?
Yeah, so that's a good question. In some of the cases, in fact, we have seen that, right? I mean, based on the information that's coming out there. But when somebody comes to us and says, listen, I was on vacation for 3 months, and I had a new automated meter reader come in, and now my bill has gone up 3 times as much, and then the city comes down and investigates for a leak, and there's no leak, there's no other answer, right? So there's no question that there are some cases where DEP is correct, but that can't be the answer for everything, right? In some cases, sure, maybe it wasn't accurate, but there's no question that right now that in many cases the current automated meter readers are not accurate and they're just spiking the bills.
The cities that you cited before that had problems, are they using the exact same type of readers?
They're using similar meter readers, similar technology. I don't think they're using the exact same company, but as Dan Halloran points out, they also don't have the same scale that we do, and so we think that the problem could be a lot more significant. And quite frankly, technology is similar across the board. There's no reason to believe that if we have cities across the country that are having the same issue, that we would not have the same issue here in New York City. That's why we're asking for an audit. Let them investigate, let them look into it, and we're certain they're going to find there's some discrepancies.
They might not be using the same meter technology, but they're using the same class action lawsuits to keep the data.